I think if you're a musician, it infinitely helps your editing skills. Right after going to college, right after graduating film school, is to figure out what kind of filmmaker I am. For you to know who you are as a filmmaker is to make the film for yourself and make the movies that you want to see. I think we're all at our own pace, and I think that's for a reason. And being able to find a community where you can build each other up is literally the only way to achieve that goal. Like, that's the only way to achieve that goal. Right. There is no other way of achieving it, you know, other than finding a community and building up each other in that way.
Eljin, thank you so much for coming on our podcast.
Of course, happy to be here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So excited.
Eljin, you recently graduated. By recently, I mean a year ago.
Yeah, it's been a year.
You spent 4 years at USC's film school in the production program. You've made...
Actually, I haven't. I started in CAM, so in Cinema and Media Studies.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And I was also spring admit, so I started in spring of 2021, yeah. So fall of 2020, I took like a bunch of GE classes outside, like at community college, and then and then I transferred in, and then I was in CAMS first. Then I took, it was funny because I took a bunch of the production requirements for CAMS,
right?
So that when I transferred, they would all just like transfer. So I think that's why I transferred like successfully.
Gotcha.
So, yeah. So I was in CAMS for like a year, and then I transferred to production.
Got you. And now you've gone through, 310, the production class.
Yeah.
You've made an independent short film with an excellent team of collaborators. And now you're post-college, post the film school world. And I am curious, what do you think is the biggest challenge as we head into the industry and we don't have the system that film school provides us?
I think it's just the uncertainty, really. I mean, like, for me, after graduating, I honestly didn't know, like, what to do. Because, I mean, like, obviously, like, everyone, I wanted to, like, make movies. I want to write and direct. But, like, there's no sustainability in that. And so after graduating, I was hit with, like, this realization of, like, oh, my God, I need to do something in the meantime while I figure out how to become a filmmaker. And so, yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge, is just the uncertainty. Especially because, like, the industry is such a fluctuating and, like, ever-changing thing, especially right now. Like, after COVID and then the strikes and stuff, like, it's just been in a very volatile place. So I don't know, that's the biggest challenge for me. I've just looked for stability wherever it is, so I just applied to so many jobs and then landed one, and then that's where I've been finding my stability at. And then in the meantime, that's where I've been finding some free time to write and then make movies on the side. So yeah.
And now you're editing for short drama series, right?
Yeah, for real short. Yeah,
that's nice. I mean, do you enjoy that job?
I actually do, because it's a lot, but it's like fun. I mean, it's like a film adjacent kind of thing, which I was really proud of landing after graduating, because I think, after graduating you have these like lofty ambitions, but sometimes you have to realize, like, okay, what am I good at? And I realized that, like, throughout my time at USC, I found myself gravitating a lot towards editing, because I edited a senior thesis film, and then I started on that track very early. Even when I was in CAMS, I took all the editing production classes. So, like, naturally I was just drawn towards that. So yeah, I think I was like, okay, if I'm going to pursue a job related to the industry, I'm going to pursue video editing. And then I also only really liked doing narrative stuff. I have done like commercial or other stuff in the past, like music video and stuff as well, but I just like narrative because I feel like I have a more innate, like, intuitive understanding of how to edit narrative stuff. So yeah, I was happy, like, to see that position, and I applied for it, and then went through a bunch of rounds, and then I was eventually offered the position, and it's been fun. I've been editing there since last October, so just over like half a year now.
Nice.
Yeah.
What would you say is like the biggest difference between editing like vertical, quickly paced dramas and like a short film that's more traditional narrative?
They're very particular about framing. So the actor's face always has to be visible,
right?
And they can't be cut off in any shape, or else you'll have to either they reshoot it, even if they have the money for it, or they ask you to find a reaction shot or something, because like they're very particular about. It's honestly like they treat their stars like celebrities, because they are in that sphere. You'll see a lot of the shows have the same actor, because they have like a cult following in that sphere.
Yeah. And
they're like celebrities. So like they always make sure that like their face has to be in frame. can't be blocked off, can't be cut off, can't be out of focus. So I honestly think like technically they're very like strict. Whereas in like narrative, like horizontal stuff, like you can have more artistic liberty with that type of thing. But in verticals, it's like it's more about having to see the star, having to see the action, especially. So yeah, that's the biggest thing.
Have you ever edited one that's like music based, or like the story involves some kind of music?
I have actually, yeah. This was right after I made Sonata. They put me on this this vertical show that was about like this violinist, and she like was separated from her mom. It was like one of the tearjerker ones because they have different genres.
Right.
They have like Secret Identity. They have like the alpha wolf pack thing, and then they have like the billionaire vampires exactly. So, but mine like for some reason I think they like stick editors onto the genres that they're good at. So they always assign me to like these tearjerker like performance shows. But yeah, I was put on one was like music based, and yeah, that was actually it was so funny because it was right after I made my music based short film, and they put me on that one. So.
I did want to ask. I asked that because you're a musician, and I'm curious like how music both informs your filmmaking and how it plays a part in like the subject matter that you explore in your films.
Yeah, no, that's a great question because like that was actually what I wrote about in my college apps was music. Because when I was applying to USC, I didn't do film. Like I knew nothing about film, but I knew about music because I grew up as a violinist. And so I kind of talked about how music and film are related. And I think for me, I think that's also why I gravitated towards editing, because I think if you're a musician, it infinitely helps your editing skills. Because I think you naturally know like the pacing and rhythm of conversations, of action, and anything that you... like anything aesthetic, like you just automatically have this intuition of like how it should be paced and stuff. So I think as a musician, that's definitely where my strengths lie as an editor. And I think that's honestly like kind of informed how I am as a director too, because I'm a very editor director, because I also edit my own films, but I also like shoot for coverage knowing how it will be edited. So like I shoot like I storyboard everything out and I shoot it in a way where I know how it's going to be edited in the final product. And that's very much due to because of my background as a musician. So yeah, it's definitely a huge like part of my identity as a filmmaker. Yeah.
Speaking of that, you just wrapped your first independently financed and crewed and everything short film called Sonata.
Yes.
Walk us through what that process is like, pulling the project together and working with everyone on the team.
Yeah, so that project was unique because that was entirely like USC based in a lot of ways. Because I mean I'm not sure if like anyone out there is like as familiar with this, but like at USC there's 480, which is the senior thesis film class, and you have to apply to be a director, writer, or producer. So people submit their scripts, people apply as a director, like submit their reels and producing as well. And so I was shortlisted that like my year as a director. My producer Rebecca was shortlisted as a producer, and then Joshua, the writer of the film, sent his script and it was shortlisted. And yeah, that whole process started as a USC thing because during that 480 process, the senior thesis film class, I had to choose people to partner with and pitch a film to the faculty. So yeah, I read his script. It was uniquely music based. It was also Asian American. And I was like, okay, I know this is the script that I want to make if I were to do 480. So I paired up with them, Josh and Rebecca, and then we pitched to faculty. And out of the 10 shortlisted directors, only 4 are chosen. Only 4 projects are chosen. And we pitched and we thought we did really well, but unfortunately we weren't chosen. And so honestly, it was kind of for the better, because then we decided we really liked, working together, and we liked the story and the vibes of everyone, and so we decided to make it independently. So we independently crowdfunded it all, and yeah, that's basically the whole process behind it. And then from there, it was that's what I like to thank USC for, honestly, is like I think Sonata was a huge culmination of my time at USC, because it brought together people that I honestly would never have met or worked with if it wasn't for USC Film School. And yeah, even like the Dale, our DP, he had reached out to us actually because he wanted to do more like Korean films, or and so he reached out to us and wanted to work on it. And that was kind of the story for a lot of people that worked on it, was they were interested in our project because we were so passionate about it, and we thought we had a really good core and fundamental, core team that we brought together. And so, yeah, it was just mainly a lot of USC connections, and yeah, it felt really like heartwarming, because it was like a culmination of my entire time at USC, and bringing in a bunch of people that I got to know through the film program. So, yeah.
And speaking of that, is this the first time that you're directing something that you didn't write?
It is, actually.
And what was
yeah.
that like?
That's really interesting, because because it was the first time I had ever directed something that I had not written. Like, obviously, I worked with him for a long time, with Josh, like for rewrites and stuff, where I kind of thought that there were certain areas that I wanted to push the film. Like, for example, as a musician, I thought there were ways to like heighten that part of the film by implementing like, the main character applying to like a conservatory or something like that, and that whole dynamic. So it was really fun, actually, because I love writing, and so I think I was able to use that passion and foster a really collaborative environment with working with Josh. But it was I think for me it was just a really fun experience, because it was something, as you said, I've never done before, and it was oddly like liberating. It was very freeing, not having to stick to like my preconceived notion of the film. It's like, it's someone else's story, it's someone else's, honestly, it's someone else's baby, and what I'm doing is doing my best as a visual and oral storyteller to bring it to life. And that's where I think I put my focus on. I really emphasized more of just the whole creative preparation of it. So I made sure to storyboard everything out. I worked extensively with our DP. We did so many location scouts, and all of that creative process was me really kind of feeling liberated from being stuck to like, oh, this is a script that I write, this is my baby. Because I feel like that's something that I've struggled with my other projects that I've done, is like, I wrote it, so like, oh, this is my baby, this is like, so precious to me that I can't free myself from it in a lot of ways. And so I think that was the biggest thing, learning from this experience, was how to distance myself from that whole process, to be able to, strengthen and heighten like the other areas of filmmaking. So I think I really learned a lot about how to be a better leader, how to be a better director and editor, just from that whole process. It was very like liberating, honestly. Yeah. But it was also really fun, because there was a lot of back and forths with the script, and but we all got it into a place where we felt like it was really representative of all three of us, me and Josh and Rebecca. We all had input, and we all kind of put a part of ourselves into the script. Me with like the whole musical ambition aspect, Rebecca with a lot of the like sisterhood aspect of it, and Josh with a lot of his own like familial dynamics and things like that. So yeah, it was ultimately really rewarding, but it was very, very much a new experience, and I learned a lot from it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this film was really well produced. I feel like following you guys' social media campaign and seeing how you guys raised the money and kept us in the loop, it all felt like we were part of the same project, even though we might have not been on set. So what was something, about that producing process that you guys had to endure that we didn't really get to see?
I mean, if I'm being honest, like pre-production it wasn't a nightmare, but it was extremely like hectic. It was like last minute things, and like, I don't know if I've ever said this, but like our lead was cast like after we had pretty much locked our entire cast. So we locked everyone except the lead. Like, this was getting dangerously close to production, and I was kind of like okay, so actually we had locked someone as our lead for like probably a few days, but I was kind of unhappy with that choice, just because they didn't really look like the younger version that we already casted, and they didn't have any musical experience, like instrumental experience, and I thought that was important. So I think casting was honestly, like, I think we found the best cast that we could, but it took a while. It took like so much to get there. So actually, the main actor in that film, Joy, she acted in my 294 like my sophomore like film class, film. So like literally like after we had locked our cast, I was like staying up at night, like looking at the looking at the pictures of my cast, and we're like, something's not right. So I literally like 2 a.m. I just sent a text to Joy and was like, hey, I'm making this. I don't know if you've seen, but I'm making this like Korean American short film, and it's about classical music, and I need someone who can play the piano. And I was wondering if you'd be free and be willing. And she was actually at that point, she had just gotten into SAG, and so she was like, oh, unfortunately, like I'm SAG now, so we'd have to, there was a lot of like hoops you'd have to go through in order to kind of sign with SAG and everything, and so we actually ended up doing that. So we signed our film under SAG under the micro budget short film agreement, and we went through a lot of hoops. I mean, you can like my producing team can speak more to this because they were up, doing this stuff. But yeah, we had to sign our film under SAG with like the micro budget short film agreement, and yeah, that was basically I think the biggest struggle up till production was like casting. But it was mainly just the lead, and it took a while to get there. But yeah, that's how we ended up.
What is the SAG agreement thing? Like, is that something you have to pay for, or what is that?
Basically, it's just an agreement with the actor, and so you have to sign under SAG. I'm not like sure like 100% on the details, but I know that in order for the actor to work on your project, your film has to be signed under that micro budget agreement so that they can work on your project under that agreement. So it has to be under that. Otherwise, they cannot work on your project. They are not allowed to work on your project. So yeah, we had to do that in order to, and we did that just so that we could get the lead actor on board. So
right.
Yeah.
You guys raised quite a bit of money, right, for this film?
Yeah, we ended up raising around $18,000 on Seed and Spark.
That's great. What's something you learned about fundraising that you didn't know before?
Timing matters, because the way we had done it was we had started our campaign around, well, obviously this is when we're seniors in film school, and the campaign, we timed it so that our campaign would end right after our graduation. And so that is kind of the incentive that we had, was we marketed as like, okay, like towards our family, friends, or anyone that we knew, any connections that we had, was like, this is our time, we're graduating now from film school, and this is like a culmination of all of our efforts and our learnings in film school. And so, that's how we pitched it and marketed it towards people. I think that was like what really pushed us over the line, because we were able to raise a good amount of money in like the first few months, or like the first month or so. But I think that's what really pushed through, was just kind of the timing of it. Yeah. Because I think there's also, it's really interesting because, there were a lot of, I think during that time, there were a lot of other short films that were also like kickstarting their campaigns and stuff. And so like I think what we did was we just kind of navigated that space where we just found a good time for us, and like in our schedule, and like aiming it to end around our graduation period so that we could, kind of market it as like, oh, this is our graduation sort of culmination of our experience at USC, and we'd like, if anyone can donate. So yeah, that was pretty much kind of the big marketing pull of it. And I think that was what was the most successful aspect of our crowdfunding campaign. So, yeah.
And speaking of marketing, you guys do have a lot of material on the Instagram page and elsewhere that promote the movie. I was wondering, like, who came up with the idea? What was it like planning it all? And what was it like filming it and putting it all together?
Well, I mean, I have to be like honest. Like Matt, our executive producer, Matt Ofloss, he was the one behind the Instagram, like the social media ideas. Yeah, so he was the one that kind of did all of those like fun, like viral media campaigns that we did. Like I don't know if did you guys see that like sneak peek video that we posted?
I've seen a bunch of them. The one I remember is when you say pause and then you said
wait,
like
stop scrolling.
Stop
yeah,
scrolling.
yeah. That was his idea. He was like, what if we got Eljin to say, wait, stop scrolling, and then yeah, that was a sneak peek video. But yeah, because we ended up gathering a big following, and it was a lot of USC based people as well. But yeah, I mean, I have Matt to thank for a lot of the those antics that we did on social media, because he works as a social media person for Gigster.
That's right.
So while he was doing that, he was like cooking up ideas for our Instagram. So
wait, that's sick.
That's awesome.
If you could do like the whole campaign, like marketing and also fundraising again, What would you do differently this time?
It's a good question. I honestly think. Ooh, I have to think about that because I mean our campaign was very successful. Maybe it would honestly just be putting more effort in outreach because like not even like just in the immediate circle, like more of like because I know what we tried to do a little bit was like we got like LinkedIn Premium and like we like messaged kind of like executive producers or like Asian American entertainment people. But I think if I were to do something differently, I would definitely put more emphasis and effort into that because I think that's something where, you know, I see a lot of potential for, especially because like if you're a really uniquely Asian American film or you have a very unique identity where it's like Asian American, it's like about classical music. There are definitely there's more of an appeal for someone who's in that space to want to invest or to want to see it come to fruition. So I think I would have put more effort and emphasis into researching those spheres, and putting more effort into the outreach into that community. Yeah, because I think that's something that like is like that's what really brings a lot of success to a lot of films these days, because a lot of these films these days are like very unique identity based. Like they're very like there's a core identity to a film that is unique or like different than any other film that's been made. Like that's how they're being marketed. And so I think, yeah, I definitely, you know, think that if that were something that you really, you know, strive towards in terms of outreach, I think you'd get a lot more interesting people involved. Yeah.
Right.
And by outreach, do they include people who work in the film industry, but or does it include everyone who could possibly be interested in investing in projects?
I think everyone, honestly,
Everyone.
because I think entertainment these days is a lot more like accessible, especially because of like streaming and everything. Like I think there are more people that have eyes on the entertainment industry, even if it's not as like strong as before. I think there are more people that are like in that circle, and so yeah, I think honestly because like I think a lot of the people that like have expressed interest in a lot of these particular like films or campaigns have come from anywhere. Like they can be like a film producer or someone in the industry, or they can be like an influencer or a celebrity or like someone who's not in immediately in that sphere. So yeah, I think honestly anyone. Yeah.
So now what is the aftermath of making this film? Like what is the plans of distribution, releasing
Yeah.
it?
So right now we're just submitting to festivals. So we've kind of been on our like applying phase. So we've just been applying to a bunch of festivals. Yeah, we're going to show it at LA Shorts at in July. So that's kind of what like later this month we're going to show that there, and that'll be like kind of our world premiere. And then after that, we're hoping for, you know, other festivals to come through. But yeah, we're just kind of in that phase of film festivals, and then after that, I mean, we're probably just gonna look for some sort of, you know, online distribution, whether it's through like Amuleto or Short of the Week or something, and then yeah, just go from there. But I think, you know, the biggest thing I took away from this experience was it was, you know, a huge learning step for me, because obviously this is like the first short film independently that I've made outside of film school, and so I think a lot of it was just learning, and I think the biggest thing for me was how much more excited it made me to make my next film. You know, I think that's something that's not as like talked about, because it's easy to make a film, or it's easy to make something and then kind of hold on to it and not let go. But I think what's really interesting about this whole process was that I learned so much from it, and I had such a fun time making it with such, you know, great people, and it just made me so much more, you know, encouraged and invigorated to make my next film. So yeah, I think that's also where I'm at right now is sending it off to festivals, hopefully online distribution, and then really working towards making my next film probably around the winter of this year, so or next year, early next year.
That's exciting.
Speaking of next film, I am wondering if you can talk a little bit about the process of bringing that script to life, and what was it like writing it? I remember you telling me that it was a pretty long writing process, and
Yeah.
now that you're shifting gears from directing someone else's script, to going back to being a writer director,
Mm-hmm.
how would you plan on going about bringing this film to life?
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, because like you said, it's been a long writing process. Because I actually started writing this short film when I started USC. So this is before I even transferred into production, and this is like the first short film that I wrote, and it's called Sea Otter. It's a Korean American short film, and it follows this like young, fresh out of college Korean American guy who has a one night stand with a girl that he meets at a karaoke club, and then she suddenly disappears from his life, and that starts to unravel his sense of morality and starts to fracture his identity. And it's a film that's deeply influenced by like modernity, like fast-paced living, especially here in Los Angeles and K-Town, Koreatown, because the film takes place in Koreatown. And so I think honestly, it's a culmination of just being located in this area and living here for so long, and being embedded in this space. It's really, because the film is, it's basically just me looking at, like, observing, life around me here in like Los Angeles and Koreatown, and wanting to make that into a short film. And so, yeah, I've just been writing that and really putting a lot of effort into that recently. And yeah, so right now I'm in pre-production. I'm just starting now to like kind of make my team right now. So yeah, so hopefully like I'll be able to save up money for that and apply. I've been applying for some grants and stuff. So yeah, that's been sort of the process for that as of now. Yeah.
That's awesome. And moving further down the line, thinking midterm / long term, what would you, in how many years do you think you'll make your first feature film? Or if maybe that's not the right question, maybe you want to go into TV directing. What do you see yourself in 5 to 7 years down your career?
Yeah, I definitely want to go into feature directing. I don't mind TV stuff too. I think like limited series stuff is really cool as well. Like I wouldn't mind writing and directing something in that space, but I think for me right now, my short term is to make a couple of more short films because I feel like I haven't really fully explored my identity or like the boundaries of my filmmaking identity yet. I think I have ways to stretch that and explore before I go into like feature or anything like that. But I definitely think I want to make this next film and then maybe two more. I also have a really bad problem with writing very long scripts or like making really long short films because like Sonata is like 20 minutes. And, especially in the whole film festival circuit, like they prefer like shorter films. Like they always say under 15 if you can get it under 10. So I definitely think like, because this next film that I'm making, the Sea Otter film, is definitely going to be on the longer side, like around 17 to 18 minutes. So then after that, I think I want to make two more like shorter films, like on the 10-minute side. And then after that, hopefully I'll use one of those because I think one of those will be a proof of concept film for a feature that I'm working on. But yeah, honestly, I am actually writing a feature based off of this short that I'm working on right now, Sea Otter. And I've been thinking about a bunch of the stories that my dad told me growing up in like Koreatown, and a lot of the stories about him during the Koreatown riots and like the Y2K era.
Right.
So I'm honestly, that's kind of what I've been like. It's funny because like I always just have these random bursts of creativity like throughout my day. Like I'll just be like taking a shower or like going on a walk, and then I'll like open up my phone on my notes app and just like think of something and I write it down. But I've been just collecting all those vignettes of like memories that my dad has shared me and like the stories that he's told me about Koreatown and from what I've seen. And I think I'm leaning towards that being my debut feature. So I'm writing that feature right now based off of the short, but obviously working on making that short first. And that honestly might act as a proof of concept. So maybe I'll be able to market that as the proof of concept and get funding or something for the feature. So, but to answer your question, I don't know, like maybe within the next 5 years or so, I would hope to at least get started on my feature, on my debut feature. So yeah.
How do you plan on getting a feature off the ground with like the way, I guess, the movie landscape is constantly shifting, right? How do you plan on adapting with that?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not even completely sure. I've just been kind of hoping that, once I make this short, it'll find the right audience somehow, whether that's through film festivals or whatnot and distribution, and then go from there. So maybe I'll be able to, send it off to a good festival, and that hopefully gets some funding or something, or I'll just be able to have that short as sort of a proof of my capabilities as a filmmaker, to then later down the line I'll be able to use that as like oh hey, like here's something that showcases my identity as a filmmaker, like, oh, now I'm ready to make a feature. So honestly, I haven't had that figured out yet. I'm still in the phase of my life where I'm definitely still trying to make shorts and trying to like figure out my identity as a filmmaker, which I think is perfectly fine. I think like a lot of people, I think, are really, dead set on like right after college, like, oh, I have to, make a short. I have to figure out my identity, and I have to then move on to features and things like that. But I think especially since like the film industry is very like volatile, like I think we have the space to take it a little slow and be like, okay, I think what really matters is to, like, right after going to college, right after graduating film school, is to figure out what kind of filmmaker I am, figure out like my strengths and weaknesses as a filmmaker so that I can learn from those experiences and then go from there. And then, whether that's the next year or like 10 years later, then you can move on and graduate to like features or whatnot. But I'm still definitely in that period where I'm still learning about myself, especially since I've only made one larger scale short film. And that was a huge learning experience for me. So yeah.
And as you mentioned, one of the most important things to figure out as a filmmaker is like who you are and what kind of stories you want to tell. How do you go about sort of, I guess, soul searching or almost identity searching outside of quote unquote filmmaking, in your life, in your memory, in the people around you? How do you go about figuring out who you are and then the story that you want?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, that's I feel like that's a question that we all ask ourselves as directors or filmmakers, is like, how do we figure out the stories that we want to tell? And I think that's something that I honestly had a pretty big identity crisis with, like during film school and just graduating.
You're not alone.
Yeah. No, yeah, because when I graduated, I was like, because I'd only made my 310, my junior thesis film, and it was like, that was like a sort of a coming of age drama, right? And also with Sonata as well, like that is very more on the family melodrama side. It's coming of age as well in a lot of ways. And I think for me, I think I see this time, this period, as a space for me to explore and I guess push those boundaries, is like what types of stories I gravitate towards. Because like my favorite films honestly are not like those types of films. They're not like family dramas or coming of age films. Like my favorite films are like Whiplash, like Old Boy, Burning, Drive My Car, all these films that are honestly very different in a lot of ways. So I think in that sense, I've been spending this time really just watching and absorbing a lot of films that I enjoy and using that as fuel to figure out who I am as a filmmaker. So like recently, or not even recently, but like one of my favorite Korean films is Burning, right? And I think the biggest plus side to that is that just having seen the film and having recognized its importance in my own life as a filmmaker, is to see like that's the type of stories that I want to tell. Like the writing style of that film is what I want to tell. So I naturally have an inclination towards that genre or that style of writing. And from there, I think that's when I start like the writing process. It's like, what type of film do I want to make? Is it similar to a type of film that I enjoy? And so that was the case for my new short film that I'm making, the Otter film, that in terms of style and in terms of story is similar to Burning in a lot of ways. So I think, I mean, like, what's that Denis Villeneuve quote that he said about like, he only makes films for one audience member, which is himself, right? Yeah. I think that's like the biggest way for you to know who you are as a filmmaker, is to make the film for yourself and make the movies that you want to see. Because like, I think that's something that I'm now really kind of striving towards, is to make films that I want to see and make films that I really gravitate towards. And so that's kind of how that whole process started, was like identifying the types of films that I enjoy and kind of meshing them with my own personality and my own insights and my own stories as well. And a lot of that is like just recognizing and absorbing a lot of the stories from everywhere. Like my dad telling me stories about growing up in Koreatown, or just even going out to Koreatown, going out to karaoke with my friends. Like that's how the film even like kind of started. Like that's how the script started, was like, you know, going out with my friends to Koreatown and karaoke, and like that experience, and like people watching. And so I think a lot of it has to do with areas that are very unexpectedly where you might find where your filmmaking identity comes from. And it can come from anywhere. I think that's the main thing, is that it comes from literally anywhere in your life. It could come from the type of movies that you're ingesting. It could be from the type of experiences that you have with other people and the relationships that you have with people. But I think the main thing is that don't underestimate where those sources can come from. They can come from anywhere. And yeah, so that's kind of how I operated for a long time, is like just absorbing knowledge, absorbing films, absorbing stories, absorbing memories, everything that I could. And that, you know, honestly helps a lot when it comes to figuring out what to write and figuring out what types of films that you want to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like right now, after you graduated film school, you're going down a somewhat traditional path of, you know, making short films while working towards that feature, right?
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you know, to our viewers who are haven't yet graduated, who want to direct a feature one day, like what's some ways to prepare themselves to be able to get to a feature one day?
Well, I think that's something where film school really helped a lot, was it gave me a really safe space to explore that. Because I think before, like obviously before film school, I'd never touched film. I never like made films, or I didn't even really know that I wanted to do film. So I think film school is a great first step, where because it automatically gives you a safe space to explore your own identity as a filmmaker. It literally gives you opportunity, like it presents opportunities to you, and it also presents people to you. Like it gives you people that are in the same boat as you. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is that like, you know, literally, like for example, for me, film school was the source of like how I was able to make my first $20,000 short film, for example. Mm-hmm. Like without USC, I would not have been able to do that to that extent, right? And so a lot of, I think, the success, or you know, the success that people are looking for can come from just really putting yourself in a favorable situation. So like film school is a great example of that. You put yourself in an environment where you're surrounded by people that also want to make movies, who also want to go down that same path that you're going down, which is like making shorts and then making features, or even going into TV or whatnot. And because of how, I guess, widespread that demographic is in film school, like you will find someone, and you will find a group of people who share those insights. Mm-hmm. And from there, that's where you can really, you know, shine. That's where you can really build yourself and build other people up with you. Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's the biggest thing, is community is the biggest thing, is finding a community, but also building each other up in the sense where you all realize like this is the same path this is ultimately the same path that we're all going on. Is not, I don't see it as like you said, a conventional path where you're, okay, I have to make short films. Okay, I have to then get an agent, and then I have to get, you know, representation, and I have to make a feature. I don't really see it like that. I see it more as like, okay, so we all want to tell stories. Like we all want to some capacity, whether it's TV, movies, whether even if it's like real short, whether it's verticals, like we all want to be a part of something where it's related to this, you know, the idea of storytelling. And so I think just recognizing that and being able to find a community where you can build each other up is literally the only way to achieve that goal. Like that's the only way to achieve that goal. Right. There is no other way of achieving it, you know, other than finding a community and building up each other in that way. So I think that's what I really enjoyed about film school and about USC, was the chance to find my community and build each other up in that sense. So
right.
yeah.
How have you like maintained that community after graduating?
I was about to ask the same question.
Yeah, no, that's I feel like that's the question, because like after graduating, I feel like you're presented with so many different struggles and different pathways. Like for me, like I you know like immediately prioritize finding a job, just for the stability of it, because I'm a very like stability oriented person, where like I can't live without having stability. So that's why like right after graduating, I prioritize that. But I think the biggest way to maintain community is honestly just to like keep doing whatever you're doing in film school, which is meeting up with each other, watching films with each other. Like I think that's the biggest thing. Like still watching movies with each other, going out to the theaters and watching stuff together. That's how I kind of maintain my community in a lot of ways, and a lot of it also is just like keeping up with each other in terms of projects that we're doing, because like naturally if we're on this path, we all want to make these projects, we all want to make further films, and so just like being there for them, just being like hey, if you want help on this, no matter what, like I'll be there. Like for example, like a bunch of my friends, like as an editor, I'm like always like, hey, if you want someone to edit your film, I'll always be here, because they've pulled in favors for me, and I so like I just feel like the natural way to do that is just to pull in favors for them when they need it. So yeah, just like recognizing that these are people that are your future creative collaborators, and so just recognizing that and being just genuine with them and being like wanting to work with them on any opportunity that presents itself. Yeah,
right.
That's how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, and you talk about having stability with your editing job at Real Short, and I think having a career as a director is one that's rather unstable.
Yeah.
When do you think you'd be at a point where you're comfortable like doing directing full time? Like as I believe that was what you said you wanted to do in the future, right?
I mean, definitely gearing towards writing and directing. And that's something that honestly I'm struggling with answering that question, because I don't think anyone has an answer for that. Like there are ways in which people get to that point, but a lot of it can be through luck or connections and things where, it's not as sure of a goal. Like it's not something that you can easily attain if you follow these steps, right? So I don't even have the real answers for that, but I think the best thing I can do is just have stability, like have a job that's adjacent to film to some capacity, and then from there save money, put that towards making my next short film, like my next good short film, like higher budget short film that I'm trying to make, and then keep doing that process until I come to a point where I have a robust resume of short films that I've made that I can present to people. Hopefully at some point also, like getting representation is something that I feel like would help a lot with that. But to get to that point, you need to have a really strong resume of short films, and that includes making really high quality high budget short films. That includes having them have gone somewhere, so like either if it's distribution or if it's film festivals, like that's the main thing. And so for me, my way of getting to that point is to maintain the steady income that I have, but put all of the excess funds into short filmmaking to get to that point, to save up and to make films and to have that robust resume and filmography. Yeah.
Do you see yourself one day making that leap of faith outside of a stable job and into the industry?
I mean, if it's something where I see it as like I'm at a point in my life where I can do that, I think, because like that's not even in terms of like income or stability, but just in terms of like I'm at a point where I've done all that I can at this level. And I think I haven't done that yet. I haven't done everything I can at this stage of my life. I think, for example, I haven't directed a film that I've written like to that extent, like with a high budget sort of short film. And so I think that there are a lot of leaps that I still need to take and a lot of areas that I still need to explore before getting to that point. But definitely if I get to that point in terms of like, okay, I've done all that I can at this stage in terms of like my filmmaking career, my writing and directing, then, having made a little bit more progress in terms of having more of a, bigger resume, then yeah, I think honestly I would do that. I would make that leap. I would try my best to, get representation and then make that leap into becoming a full-time director. But that I still see that as a little bit of a ways off. I think for me, having the stability of a job right now is nice so that I can build myself up a little bit more with that money, put it into future projects and make them good and then send them somewhere. And hopefully that'll get more eyes and a bigger audience. Yeah.
And part of building a career in writing, directing, I think also kind of boils down to, and you're talking about representation and all that, also comes down to like an understanding of the industry and just the way it works. So I am curious, for our listeners out there who might not be as familiar with the actual workings of Hollywood or of even just the indie film space, how do you go about learning more about how things are financed and distributed, and once you get to that point that you're ready to pull the trigger and make the right decisions?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that stuff is just reading up online, like, but a lot of it is like current trends, because like you can obviously read up on like what like what a successful film did like 10 years ago, but I think like it's a lot of it is analyzing what's doing good currently.
Right.
And a lot of that is to do with like seeing what's winning awards or seeing what's making money at the box office, and just being able to identify that and being able to see how, or just being able to identify opportunities where you can get into that space. So for me, a lot of it is like just reading up on like what's doing well at the box office or something, which is like kind of boring, honestly, as a creative filmmaker. Like you don't want to look at that stuff, but I think that is just helpful in terms of understanding, like you said, where the industry is, and like where like it's a good start into seeing what Hollywood is like, because that's what Hollywood is like. I mean, it's all trends, it's all, what's currently doing good. And because of how volatile the industry is, like that is what's so important these days, is being able to identify and being able to take advantage of what's, doing well and what's not doing well. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the industry is changing more than ever now.
Yeah.
Has there any been a point in your life recently or in the last few years that you felt really like uncertain about where you want to head with this career?
If I'm being completely honest, no, not really. I mean, I've had like reservations about like the industry itself, like, oh, it's in a bad place or whatnot, but I never doubted like this is what I want to do, which is why like right after film school, I spent every ounce of effort into applying to like film adjacent jobs and really doing my best to put my foot out there and secure one of them, because I wanted to do something that was, no matter what, adjacent to the entertainment industry and adjacent to the creative art of filmmaking. So like myself as an editor, that's what I kind of marketed myself as. And so I just really spent so much effort and time, putting myself out there and making that sort of leap. And a lot of that had to do with my sort of confirmed belief that like, oh, I want to do film, and like I wouldn't really do anything. I don't even know what else I would be doing if it weren't for film, to be honest. Like whether it's editing or whether it's actually writing and directing short films or projects on the side, like I don't really think I could be doing anything else, or having as much fun doing it. So I never really doubted that. Yeah. Of course I've had doubts about like the state of the industry and the state of where things are going, but yeah, I don't know. I've always had like my eyes set on storytelling to some capacity. I think that's like, even as a musician growing up, like a violinist, like I feel like from the earlier, parts of my childhood, I've always wanted to do something adjacent to storytelling. Right. So, yeah.
How do you prevent yourself from like growing complacent about, having a secure job and losing the sight of the bigger goals?
That's a really good question, because I think it's easy to grow complacent. Like, oh, I have a job, it's like paying okay, and then like I'm able to save money on the side to put into future projects. Like, and I feel like that's something where you can really grow comfortable and not move on from there. So for me, a lot of it is holding myself accountable to always be writing, always, look for, because also, I'm not just an editor for Real Short. Like I am an editor for Real Short, but I also do freelance editing on the side. I just finished, I'm still actually in the process of doing like turnover stuff, but I'm editing a Korean Canadian film, like short film. And like I'm just also like it's slower because I do have a job, but I'm also still doing freelance editing on the side, and I think that is helping a lot with not being or not growing complacent, because I think especially with like Real Short, where a lot of it is quantity over quality, you can lose like the sense of like you can lose the sense of the art in what you're doing. So I think for me, it's always finding ways to reinvigorate that sense of artfulness in your identity. So like for me, it's doing freelance editing and writing whenever I can. Like, this, for example, the short film that I'm making this year or later this year, the Sea Otter film, like I've been writing that film for so long, but I think that's good because it's like I've constantly, whenever I have free time, whenever I have, whenever I'm like off from work and stuff, I'm always writing. I'm always thinking of ways to improve my scripts and my screenplays. And so, yeah, a lot of it is just like investing the free time, investing any time that I have into, the future of my career. Because like, I obviously see myself like staying in this job for a longer time just to build myself up while I said, like I said, to, make more short films on the side. But I think long term, obviously, I want to become a fully fledged writer and director. And so holding myself accountable to that by, always being, always writing and always doing like freelance editing work as well has kept me sane throughout this time. So, yeah.
Do you feel like you're able to find the time to do all that stuff outside of your job?
I mean, it's tough. And it requires some flexibility because like, especially with like these vertical companies, a lot of it is so fast paced. You don't have a lot of free time and downtime, but because I work 10 to 7 Monday through Friday, which is 40 hours a week, and I go into office. So like it's in person. So I guess it's just like outside of that time, really putting that towards, the creative part of filmmaking. Because I feel like a lot of the editing, the editing in real short is very like technical. It's very like, oh, you have to, like I said, like you have to keep the actor's face in frame. There's always a structure to it. There's a format. There's a formula. So outside of that, finding ways to keep myself sane, which is like doing freelance editing or writing or just envisioning future projects that I want to make in the future as well. Like always dreaming. I think that's the best way to put it. Like, because I think it's easy for people to stop dreaming when they have a job, when they are like, they're kind of tempted to be like, oh, okay, I have a job, oh, I don't really need to make more movies. I can just work myself up or like work my way up to this corporate ladder. And I think that is where the complacency kind of takes root. But I think for me, it's like, more so holding on to that, I guess, that willingness to dream and that willingness to, have that fire in you to still want to pursue more creative stuff on the side. Yeah.
I mean, you graduated 2 years ago, right? Or
2024, last year, 1 year ago.
last year, okay. And what are your roommates or what are your classmates doing in your cohort that graduated?
Yeah. Well, I mean, some of the people I know, like my friends, like Justin Rowe. He was my roommate in college, and he also just made his like first independent short film as well, Hermit Crab, which I also edited, which was fun. And then Daniel Hahn, both obviously previous guests on this podcast. Yeah, he's also into producing now, and so he's actually the lead producer for the film that I'm making this year too. So yeah, he also produced Hermit Crab, and he's also doing a bunch of producing work. And and then some other people that I know, like the Sonata team as well, like Rebecca, my producer for that film. She's doing sort of like freelance work, obviously, and also some part-time editing stuff as well, because she also does editing stuff. But yeah, like she's doing freelance stuff. So, but like I don't like I can only do freelance work if I have something stable, so like a job. But that obviously comes with like obviously you have less time and it's less flexible. But yeah, that's what they're up to these days. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like everyone, had the idea of what life is going to be like after college before they got into college?
Honestly, no. I don't think anyone knows what it's like, and I think everyone just assumed. I think we're all under the unified delusion of like, oh, it'll be fine after you graduate, which is like obviously okay, like you can understand that, like, oh, it'll be fine after you graduate, but no one really knows what it's like, both in the struggles and also the good stuff, like the fun stuff after graduating, like the freedom that you have to explore, but also the bad stuff, like not knowing what to do with your life or what to do with your time in a lot of like ways. So yeah, I don't think, I mean, for me, myself, I had honestly no idea what it would be like post-grad. And yeah, I mean, I guess you can also speak to this, but I don't think anyone knows that really, like what it will be like. So I think we all just kind of take it as we go, and especially in an industry that's so volatile and so, ever changing. I think, because I think, like Postgrad for us is very dependent on like the state of the industry, and no one can really predict. I mean, you can, but no one can really truly understand where the industry is or is going. And so that kind of reflects, I feel like, on the uncertainty that a lot of us face after graduating. Yeah.
Nice. As someone who's got one more year left, what's the best way to prepare for that?
I mean, honestly, just maintain your community, like I said, really focus on building each other up. Because, like, that's for me, what I'm glad that I did was I had a, like, obviously I worked on expanding my network and, like, having a big community. But I had, like, a few kind of people in my life that I really invested a lot of time into building ourselves up. Like Justin, Daniel, and you guys too, and like I feel like that is really valuable because once you graduate, like everyone will be doing their own thing. Like everyone will be like off figuring out life, right? Like, and there'll be a period where like a lot of us will be lost and we don't really reach out to each other as much. And it's because we're post-grad, we feel like we have to be independent and figure out our own lives. Yeah. So I feel like the best thing is really to not be afraid of hanging on to your community, and especially if it's like a few people that you really want to build yourself up with and to work with in the future. I guess just really hang on to that, because you don't have to face post-grad alone. Like you really don't, because we're all in the same boat. No one is like, even if we're on different paths, we all want to achieve the same thing, which is like continue being a part of this industry, continue being a part of filmmaking or entertainment or storytelling. So yeah, that's the biggest piece of advice I can give someone. I can give you.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, because I think, like, especially going into postgrad where you're alone in a lot of ways. Like what is there except the people that you're surrounded by? Like there's no one else. There's nothing else to really, to help you through that journey. So like a lot of us feel very alone. But the best thing you can do, I think, is really just build each other up, continue to work on projects together, invest in each other. I think that's the biggest thing too, is like not just like money, but time, invest in like creative thinking with each other, like just really sort of invest the effort and time into building the people around you up, because they will do the same for you. That's how I've seen it, is that if you really put in the time and effort, if you really build a strong, close community, then the effort that you put in will be put it back towards you. So, yeah.
How do you, like, when you go on Instagram, right, or LinkedIn, you see everyone succeeding and, like, doing really cool stuff, people in your cohort, especially after post-grad, how do you keep yourself from feeling like you're falling behind or feeling jealous of other people's wins? So.
I mean, like, we're all at different paces. Like, none of us, I mean, the way I see it, like, obviously you can see someone as being ahead of you or being behind you, but I think we're all at our own pace, and I think that's for a reason. Like, for example, like a friend of mine recently made his first feature, and he's like literally the same age as me, or like a year older than me. Thomas, he just made his like debut feature, and like just over $1 million feature, and like obviously he's ahead of me. Like I'm not gonna say he's not, but like he has put so much like effort and time and investment into that I can see that as a learning opportunity. I really feel like I can learn from him because he's my friend, and because he's a someone that I was able to grow closer towards during my time at USC. Like I don't see it really as like I'm behind him, more as like I can learn from him, and I can, by being his friend and by being someone, close to him, I can, really learn a lot from his journey. So yeah, I don't really feel jealous or anything, because like we're all trying to get to that point. And so we're all trying to help each other out. So like, especially if you're close connection with them or you're close friend with them, like just being able to, talk to them or have a sit down and have a heart to heart, I feel like that's the best way to combat those feelings of jealousy or those feelings of being behind, because, especially if they're in your community, if they're in your circle, then they'll want to help you too, and they'll want to give every bit of advice they can give to you. So yeah.
Nice. We'd love to have Thomas on the podcast. So.
Yeah, you should try and
we're trying to get him
try
on.
and get him on.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
He's busy.
Yeah, he's busy.
And speaking of like just how fast things are changing, there's like AI that's sort of affecting pretty much every industry in the world really right now.
Yeah.
I did want to just pick your brain on what you think of AI as like a changing force in the entertainment industry, filmmaking.
I mean, it's such a complicated topic, but I think, eventually AI, like there's no stopping it in a lot of ways, where it will be used as a tool for things. And a lot of, like, we see that a lot of the times these days as well. Like, I mean, like the Brutalist using AI for like the voices and then some of the backdrops or whatever. So I definitely think that it will be like very omnipresent in the near future as a tool. Yeah, I think the best thing we can do is just to combat it being used in ways that substitute the work of art. Like, I think it can be used as a tool to make art better, but when it comes to the point where it's substituting an artist's work, then that's an issue that should be talked about. But yeah, I mean, just how fast paced it's moving and how it's learning, like it's definitely here to stay. Yeah. It's like Pandora's box. It's like putting a genie back in the lamp. Yeah. It's not going to happen. So I think the best thing to do is just continue monitoring it. I think that's something that I feel like is a good piece of advice, is to like really always be in the know of like where AI is at, especially as an artist. It's just always helpful to know like where it's at and how it will continue to grow. Like keep like continuing to monitor it is really helpful. And so my hope is that obviously like by doing that, you will find ways in which it can be helpful and can be used as a tool, but not in very overt ways that, that start to substitute the work of art, the work of artists and the creativity of it all. But yeah, it's definitely here to stay, and it's definitely like Pandora's box situation, and yeah, so that's really all there is to it. So.
Yeah, I've definitely been keeping up with just all the things that are happening, but at the same time, I keep reminding myself that like this is kind of something I can't really control. Like whatever development's going on, it's gonna go on without me.
Yeah.
Like they don't really care about who I am.
Exactly.
I care a lot about what they do, but at some point I think, just being aware of what's going on and but also like having the peace of mind to sort of almost accept it, and just adapt to it as you go, is sort of where I'm at the moment. But
absolutely.
That's really beautifully said.
What do you think like will make us like human-made art stand out versus computer-made art in the future?
Well, I don't think AI can make anything like new. Like obviously it can try and make something new, but I feel like the real innovations are made by people, and AI just follows that and improves upon that. So I think the uniqueness of the human voice is that it can't be like that's where innovation stems from, and that's where like art, like that's where new generations and new waves of art come from, is like our voices and like our identities. And AI I don't think can really replicate that, or it can't make new kind of waves in that sense. Like our voice is our voice, and like we have the ability to make that into art, which I don't think AI can do. Like it doesn't have a voice. It just regurgitates like everyone else's voice. And it's like the way I see it is like it's an amalgamation of personalities and of other people's work and other people's art. And so it can't really, I don't think, like cultivate something new and exciting. I think a lot of that is on the onus of the artist to do. So as long as there are artists, and as long as there are people who are writing and directing and making films and doing it the way that it should be done, then I feel like AI, that's where it obviously can't replace that unique human voice. And I think also like just seeing like the small imperfections in filmmaking that, you know, make films interesting and unique. Even in, I think it just is just from my perspective as an editor, but like even editing, like there are literally infinite amount of ways to edit something. Like it's literally impossible to count how many ways there are to edit something, right? So like AI will edit it a certain way, but editing wise, like humans, each different person, like you, me, you know, anyone else, like will edit something in a different way, right? So like editing, I feel like is a unique kind of example of where that's extremely human. Like that's something that AI can't really, like it can have its own sort of method of approaching that, but as like an editor myself, like I feel like that's something that every human is capable of editing something in a different way, in a unique way that's unique to them. And so I think that's I think a representation of what I think, you know, is unique about like the artist struggle against AI, for example, is like there are ways in which we can combat it by being true to our voices and being true to who we are, for example. So yeah.
Would you call the stuff that, you know, the short dramas, would you call that art in a way?
Yeah, I think it's like the verticals that I make. Yeah, I think that's art. Right. I think it's just more of like an emphasis on, like I said, like quantity over quality, but it's definitely art. Like it's not, you know, I don't know. It is art in a way. And I think a lot of that is because it's narrative stuff. And so it's always going to be a form of storytelling. And I like how at Real Short and at these verticals, like they do emphasize like audience engagement, which is fun because that's something that like we can follow and we can adapt to and we can always change and always improve upon, is like how we edit something or how we film something to make it more engaging towards audiences. So that in itself is art. Like that's the definition of art, is like the creation of you know, media and of storytelling. And so I think, yeah, that's definitely art.
And do you think like AI would it be able to adapt to that kind of, you know, medium? Because I do know, you know, they want that quantity, right?
Yeah.
They want to do fast pace. Like, what's stopping AI from
I
being
mean,
able to?
they've already been using AI to some capacity for some smaller things, like maybe some VFX touches or something. But in terms of like, can AI do like that exact thing? Like, I don't like. Of course, they can try, but it will never be as like, I don't know, as just as realistic or as you know, humanly made. And I think that's what like if you ever see like AI, those AI videos that like, you know, they're making, like it there's always something that just feels off about it, right? Like it just, even like however realistic it looks, or like technically realistic it looks, like I always feel like there's something off about it. There's always this uncanny valley feeling.
Right.
And I think like obviously AI will progress and it'll get to the point where it might be indistinguishable, but I think that's where the danger lies. But yeah, for as of right now, I feel like that's something that, you know, AI isn't capable of doing. So, but I definitely think that's a huge concern and a danger, is the progression of AI. And so that's why I said like keeping tabs or like being in the know of like where it's progressing is hugely important, because yeah, definitely I feel like the way that it's progressing, like it will get to that point in the future. So yeah.
And I was talking to Richard. I was like, maybe I should learn how to be a plumber, you know, just in case.
Well, yeah, speaking of that, like if you weren't in filmmaking, or if you, let's say if you aren't even, you know, a career musician or violinist, what would be your like next career path?
I honestly think I would. Okay, I have two answers. One is like a fun one, and one is like a realistic one. I think the realistic one, I think maybe I would have done something maybe in law, like maybe become a lawyer or something, because I think I'm very logically oriented. But I think a fun one would be, I think as a kid, I really was interested in like the ocean and stuff. So I think I would have been a marine biologist. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice.
Awesome. One of my favorite subjects growing up was biology.
Yeah.
And I also was thinking about becoming like some kind of evolutionary biologist.
Because like growing up, my favorite animal were sharks, and so I always used to like.
dolphin.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
Orca.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Well, we got a trio
wow.
of ocean
Wow.
animals.
Let's go.
Ocean
That's so
guys.
funny because
Ocean 3.
because like Justin just made Hermit Crab, and like my
Yeah.
film that I've been making is Sea Otter.
That's
So
great.
so we were joking like we should make an anthology.
Missing at sea.
Yeah, we have like we have an anthology trilogy of like
Something's
ocean.
going on here.
Yeah. Something's going on here. But yeah,
That's cool.
That's awesome.
Make a zoo.
Speaking of the ocean,
Okay.
let's just say hypothetically that you're in the plane and it
Okay.
crashes down to an island, and
Here we go.
you have the island and just the ocean around you,
oof.
and you have somehow there is a TV with a DVD player in it.
Oh, okay.
What are 3 films that you would bring to that
These are
island to watch
these are
over
real
and over and
questions.
over?
These are real. Okay, 3
And
films and why? Okay. I have to really think about this because this is a good question. These are like what I would really like. Okay, I think I would bring. Okay, I would just bring Whiplash because I it's just my favorite film of all time, and it's just never not entertaining.
Yeah.
And for the same reason, I think I'd go with The Social Network. You know, I know it's kind of a rogue pick, but I don't know. I just like, for me, that's a really rewatchable film. Like I can watch it and like never get bored. I think my last one will have to be. It's definitely an Asian film. I just have to think about it. Probably. I'll say Decision to Leave. I'll say Decision to Leave.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good movies.
Because I think that film, I don't know, just has such a nice aesthetic to it, and it's like a romance mixed. It's like genre mixing with a lot of
Yeah, it's
different
doing
things.
so many things.
Yeah, it's doing so many things at the same time. It's entertaining, and just one of my favorite films. So, yeah, Whiplash, The Social Network, and Decision to Leave. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Dude, that's sick. Also, something we do on this podcast is the previous guest leave the current guest a question. And the question the previous guest left you was, if you could let your daughter date anyone in the industry, who would it be?
Yo, who asked this question, bro?
It's anonymous.
Okay. Wait. So like a person in the industry?
Yeah, like a recognizable, somewhat recognizable.
Yeah, like a
name.
filmmaker type of
Filmmaker, you
or
know,
like
actor,
actor,
yeah.
whatever, yeah.
Damn. That's a good question. That's like a really thought-provoking question. Definitely not like I was just thinking like my favorite directors. Definitely not like Park Chan-wook or Bong Joon-ho. Those guys are messed up, man. A lot of filmmakers are really messed up people. So it's like a difficult question. I would say, oh my God, that is a really, that's really, I'll say Kong Yu. He's he's a Korean actor. He was in Squid Game and he was the recruiter in Squid Game.
Oh.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an incredible actor. By the
Yeah,
way.
he's a really good actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I heard he's just also a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he's cool. Because I recently watched a movie that he was in called Silenced.
Oh, was that the
Korean film.
director of Squid Game?
Yeah, same director of Squid Game. Yeah.
Movie, yeah.
Yeah, he's really good in that film. But he's just a great actor and he's a cool guy. So
Nice.
yeah.
Cool.
Sick.
Well, Eljin, thank you so much for
Of course.
coming on the podcast to chat with
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
Thank you so much.